Hello, audience. How are we doing tonight?
Oh man, we got a good one going in for tonight.
How are you doing today, Zane?
I'm doing good. I've been looking forward to this episode for a while, right?
Oh yeah.
Definitely. This is definitely, I think, arguably the most controversial episode we've done thus far in Generational Hate.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, with everything going on in the world, we got a good one in store for everybody tonight.
Yes, we do. But before we get started, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Josh. I am your Gen X representation on the panel. Also conservative leaning, more libertarian minded, but a little conservative leaning.
Yeah. And I am Zane. I am definitely the Gen Z representative for this channel. And I am definitely more liberal sided than Josh, 100%.
Definitely.
Yeah. I'd like to call myself a centrist, but as of late, I've leaned myself more left than normal. But I like to think of myself as pretty centrist leaning left.
Oh, yeah. Man. And according to all modern sensibilities and modern media, the two of us should hate each other.
Yeah, we should not be friends whatsoever.
But funny story is we're actually really good friends.
We're pretty good friends.
All right, Zane, get us kicked off, man. Let everybody know what we're talking about tonight.
Okay, well, I'm glad I have the honors. So, ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to be talking about Israel, specifically what's going on with Israel and the Gaza conflict, the Middle East, and exactly what's going on there. And not exactly who's right, who's wrong, but kind of, right?
Right.
Yeah, like pretty much.
I don't think anybody's right.
No, but there's definitely some people who are more wrong than others.
And this is where we might actually disagree.
Yep. Which is why I've been excited to talk about this for a while. Because, for the last few episodes, we've been talking about some more interesting things. But we both agree on a lot of things. This one, I have a feeling we're going to come into disagreements a few along the lines.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, everyone knows what's going on in Israel. I mean, literally, if you don't, I don't know what rock you've been living under. I mean, and even if you didn't know what was going on in Israel before 2023, you should definitely know now.
Right.
Right.
Yep. And hey, Thad, what's up, man?
How you doing tonight? Hello, everybody. So, I mean, let's kind of hop into it. I mean, for the people who don't know what's going on, I think we should talk about it like a brief history of specifically Israel, the Gaza Strip, the West Bank, and all that. It is a war-torn part of the nation, very religious, and that's caused a lot of difficulties in the region, mixed with outside intervention and all that stuff. It's just become entire hotspot in the world.
Yeah, and goes back much longer than the 1948 recognition of Israel as a Jewish state. This has been going on since the time of Moses.
Yeah, Yeah, it's
Like,
been going on since biblical times.
yes.
But for those of you guys who don't know what Josh mentioned about 1948, that was the Arab-Israeli War. And that kicked off when Israel was recognized. Well, it was established, and it basically caused a massive clash between Arabs and Jews in the region. And it was pretty deep.
Yeah, prior to World War II, over the course of thousands of years, the Jewish population of the region, whether you want to call it Palestine, Israel at the time, was over the course of that period of time being pushed out of the region. Most of them ended up in Europe, spread out across the European countries, and the people we know as Palestinians today took over the region. And then after World War II, we have all these Jews in Europe who no longer have a home. So what do we do with them? And it was basically the UN, or the North Atlantic, the precursor to the UN, maybe the UN at the time, said, well, let's just give them their ancestral home back. And
there was
in the process displaced another group of people. So that's what kicked off the Jewish Arab wars shortly after World War II into 1948.
And then obviously shortly after World War II, we saw Palestinians were mainly pushed into Gaza, which is a small strip. It's like 25 miles long, like 7.5 miles at its widest point.
Yeah, it's not real big.
It's not big at all, and there's a lot of people living there.
Yep.
Now
they're in the West Bank.
Yeah, the West Bank too. And then like there's always been conflict in the region, but the next biggest hotspot was probably in 1967. Which that was a 6-day war. Israel attempted, and they succeeded in capturing Gaza and the West Bank, and they ended up capturing parts of Egypt and Syria in a military operation. And honestly, almost most of the problems in the region stemmed from 1967, like the Israel and the conflicts we know today. Most of that stemmed from the Israeli military actions of 1967.
Right.
And I think that's a pretty fair explanation. I think most people would agree on.
I mean, it's Cliff Notes version of the history.
Yeah.
Of course, with anything, there's a lot of nuance, a lot of subtext going on over the course of those thousands of years.
Yeah.
That are leading up to it.
Yeah. Even that Sunday nights are our longest episodes at like 2 hours long. It's not enough to even like scratch the surface of historically explaining that entire region, because it's been a really, really bad time. Now I think most people started realizing like what was going on with Israel, right? Because at least specifically Americans, right? Americans have always known Israel as an ally of the United States, right? We have deep ties with Israel, and a lot of that is also very interesting, because it's not exactly the United States and Israel have always had the most peaceful relationship either, right? I specifically thought you would like to talk about the USS Liberty, Josh. That just seems kind of up your alley too. A little bit.
I am actually not.
Really?
I'm not super well versed in this topic.
Mm-hmm.
I've got my, of course, opinions on it.
Yeah. This is a very, very niche, not talked about at all. I remember when I had first heard about it, I was in speech and debate. I think it was like sophomore year.
Okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah. And
yeah, the whole 6 Days War U.S. ship that was attacked, basically bringing us into the conflict.
Yeah. Israel
kind of solidifying our alliance.
Yeah. And it's kind of crazy because me and Josh like jokingly have forever led the whole "don't touch our boats" argument, like into everything. Israel touched our boats,
Except
and
that it went the wrong way
yeah,
or the right way, depending on how you look at it.
yeah,
It's like instead of saying don't do that,
yeah,
we're gonna destroy you. It was like, you're our friend now.
yeah, yeah, pretty much. And just so everyone understands, like, because I think it's pretty important to read the numbers off. The attack on the USS Liberty killed 34 crew members, wounded 171, almost sank the ship, and then one civilian was killed. I mean, they were an NSA employee, but they aren't military.
Right.
And after that, instead of like compare it to when Iran touched our boats in the Reagan administration and we blew up their entire navy, we were just like, "You're dope, man. Let's send you tax money."
Right. Yeah.
So our relationship with Israel is very complicated.
Yeah.
And we've been closely aligned in intelligence, a lot to Mossad and the CIA have closely interlinked ties. I'm sure we spy on each other, but who doesn't? But
Right.
they've been closely aligned. And then, of course, everyone knows about the military spending. And I'm talking about prior to October 7th, 2023. I'm talking about how we built them an Iron Dome. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They are, the way I look at Israel is they are basically an extension of NATO, except we're more alone in the alliance.
Yeah.
Some of the European countries are loosely aligned with Israel, but the tie is nowhere near as strong as ours.
No. And I mean, like, I'm sure, like, my personal opinion on the whole U.S. alliance with Israel is very. I think the alliance is very one-sided, and you'll see where my opinions fall directly on that as we talk throughout the episode. But yeah, I mean, is there anything more about context we want to talk about, Josh? Or do we want to jump to October 7th?
I think we can probably jump in. I don't think there's much we can, like you said earlier, if we wanted to jump into all the pretext, it would be a 6-hour podcast.
Yeah, no kidding.
So yeah, we could talk about what's been going on for the last year and a half.
Yeah. So I think this is where most people started to pay attention to Israel, even the people who aren't on the news, right? Is on October 7th, 2023, a terrorist group called Hamas attacked Israel and killed 1,200 people, mostly civilians, and took like 250 people hostage. And that is what really kicked things off in the region.
Yeah, they attacked a music festival.
Yeah, they attacked a civilian
that was going on in, it wasn't in Tel Aviv.
No, but it was close, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah. So it wasn't an attack against the Israeli military.
No,
it was an attack against the Israeli populace.
Yeah, it was an attack on Israel.
Yes. And that's been par for the course
now
in over the centuries between the two.
Yeah.
They see the other side wholly as the enemy.
Yeah.
You may not be part of the army or carry a gun, but you are the enemy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, to be fair though, like, Israel also has seen Palestine and their citizens as the enemy too. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
Like,
both sides.
Oh yeah, both sides view each other as direct enemies.
Yes.
And the only difference between their populations is Israel's entire population is military trained.
Yes.
And yeah, but like specifically, like Hamas beforehand, because like they've been like present in the Strip since like 2007, right?
Yeah. So Hamas goes back to the very foundations of Gaza.
Yeah.
When was it 2007, 2010, Israel formally pulled out of Gaza
And
and
they
said, it's yours. You want us gone, we're gone. Right.
Hmm.
And said, okay, elect your own government. And it was Hamas
who
who
ended up seizing control.
who was elected as their government.
Yeah. And like to even there's so many this is going to be a fun episode because there's so many things to talk about, right?
Yeah.
And like specifically when Israel left the strip, right? It wasn't like what people believe is like a formal withdrawal, like when the United States withdrew from Afghanistan, right? It was a total withdrawal and they blocked everything. This was not a peaceful withdrawal whatsoever. Israel just finally said, I'm done fighting you in the strip. You can have the strip. And since then, it's been bombarding the strip and there's been humanitarian conflicts in the region, right? And this isn't me like obviously there's no condoning civilian deaths, right? But Hamas was created because Israel and Palestine have been in these conflicts for so long, and a group of Palestinian people got so fed up with it, they decided to take extreme, horrible actions, and we saw that on October 7th.
Yeah, and but on the other side of all that, it's who is attacking who.
Exactly.
Is the question. I mean, you say that Israel was launching attacks into the West Bank and Gaza. Well, but at the same time, there are forces inside the West Bank launching attacks into Israel.
Exactly. It's not a one-sided war whatsoever.
Right. And that's where I think the biggest divide comes in is, well, who started it? Well, nobody knows. It's the shot heard around the world thing. It just something went bang. And it was 2,000 years ago, and they just hate each other.
Yeah. I mean, I've heard the arguments be made on both sides, right? And I'm more inclined to believe that the more heavily armed nation has not necessarily at fault, but they definitely put more fuel on the fire than the other, right? Because like, I mean, arguably, Israel and the Gaza Strip was Palestine before it was Israel, right?
It was called Palestine.
Exactly. I mean, because the Palestinian people lived there before Israeli settlers moved in and took over the region.
Well, again, it depends on how far back you go.
Exactly. You can go so far back.
It's the same argument that we have here in the United States.
Yeah.
You can't live on stolen land. Well, the past is the past.
And you know me, I'm a history major.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and I've said this in multiple forums, is the past is the past, but we have an obligation to learn from it.
Right. And if we want to go into the past of this conflict, this, like I said earlier, this goes back to the time of Moses.
Yeah, it's insane.
And the exodus of the Israelites from Egypt.
Yeah.
They wandered in the desert for 40 years, and God, if you're religious or not, this is where everything stems from. God sends them from the desert into the land of Canaan, where the Canaanites live, which is modern day Israel. Also living there were a people called the Philistines. And God, whether you agree with it or not, is not here or there. God said, this land is your land. Take it. And it was by force. Take it by force. This is the land I am giving you. And that is, in my opinion, the beginning of this conflict.
Yeah.
And the name Palestine, right? The name Palestine we get from the Romans during, I believe it's Caesar Augustus's reign during the Jewish rebellion. And they knocked down the rebellion. And that's when the systematic removal of Jews from the area started. And to slight the Jews, Rome, because Judea was what it was called at that time, the land of the Jews. To slight the Jews, they renamed Judea Syria Palestina. The land of the Philistines.
Yeah.
And that is where we get the name Palestine. But Palestine has never been
a formally recognized nation.
Formal state anywhere throughout history.
No.
So quick history lesson, a little bit of biblical stuff, but it is actual factual history.
Yeah. Like, I mean, as Josh kind of just explained, the entire region is stemmed through religious conflict.
Yes. Isaac and Ishmael, the Jews and the Muslims, they just
all stemmed.
Yeah.
And so obviously after October 7th, when the Hamas terrorist organization killed 1,200 Israelis and took 250 Israelis hostage, Israel, within its right, defended itself, right?
Yes.
And I understand the arguments against it, right? But like in 2001, when the World Trade Centers fell, we also took the right to defend ourselves, and we attacked the Taliban and terrorist organizations in the Middle East. We didn't attack Afghanistan. We attacked terror. Is the war on terrorism, right? And I view it kind of in the same light as when Israel first took its response. It was within its right to go after Hamas.
Except this terrorist organization of Hamas is the ruling power of Gaza. Yeah, that is the only difference. They are the government, whereas the Taliban was not.
Yeah, I mean,
so there is a big distinction there.
Yeah, and then obviously up until now, there has been, I believe, over 60,000 deaths, mostly
66,000,
and I believe half of those are civilians.
Yeah, and then like 120-ish thousand injured.
Yeah,
and there's 2 million people in Gaza.
I'll get the exact
1 million, 2 million.
I'm curious, but that sounds pretty right. So there are 2.1 million people believed in the Gaza Strip, and that was July 2025.
So dead and wounded, approximately 10% of their population, which is massive.
Yeah, this figure represents a decline from 2.3 million.
Yeah.
So
in any type of warfare, a 10% decline in population.
Yeah.
In casualties is massive.
And I think like this goes to show like exactly why people are wanting to get involved in the war is because the death toll has just become so high, right? And I believe at this point, Israel is taking the terrorist attack of Hamas to retake the Gaza Strip and the West Bank and push Palestinians out. And that's just what I see, right, from the current actions.
I can definitely see that viewpoint. Especially, again, whether you think one side's wrong or the other. After Israel left Gaza and left them to their own devices to govern themselves, since that time, Israel has offered a two-state solution. That we will keep what's ours, you will keep what's yours. Being occupied right now by both sides. And you can have the West Bank as Palestine. We will have what is currently Israel as Israel.
Yeah.
And the Palestinian people are wholeheartedly rejecting it.
And I mean, like, I don't blame them for rejecting it because, like, the population differences between Israel and Palestine, right? It's big, right? Israel's population is over 9 million, right? But like as I said earlier, the Gaza Strip is not big whatsoever, right? And Israel proposes a two-state solution, right? but they also like it's like the situation, and even before October 7th, there are situations where Palestinians would throw stones over the Israeli border, and Israeli soldiers would shoot them and kill them. Right. And the idea of the two-state solution was just a way for Israel to get the world off its back, right? I because I mean, this is just me. I do not truly believe Israel wants a two-state solution. They want the entirety of the region.
I would agree with that, except for the fact that inside of Israel's own government, they have Islamic representation.
And I mean, inside the Israeli government, they're also calling it a genocide.
There are
Yeah,
members of it that are calling that. I don't know if
yeah.
it truly is, but
I mean,
but
yeah.
I don't think if Israel is okay with having members of their own parliament be on the other side, I don't think they want the complete destruction of the other side. I mean, unless it's just some long con game, to make people give them, oh, they're doing the right thing, and then, they change. But
Yeah.
I just don't see somebody who wants to who people are saying they want to destroy the Palestinians while they have Palestinian representation in their own government.
I mean, like I understand the viewpoint, right? I truly I don't think YouTube would even let us like pull up a clip, right? But they definitely exist. There are like literal clips of these Israeli soldiers talking to people online, right? And literally the Israeli soldiers are ordered to treat everybody who lives in Gaza as a terrorist.
Yeah.
And this, I mean, this is,
And I completely understand that.
and I mean, I don't, because that means targeting women and children.
Well, but
I
those same women and children were cheering and throwing stones at hostages that were taken on October 7th as they were being paraded naked and raped in the streets of Gaza. The women
yes,
and children were celebrating it and throwing stones.
at the end of the day,
In my view,
yeah,
as an Israeli, forget if it's Israel or Germany or whoever. If your enemy is doing this, if the civilians are doing this, the civilians are enemies too. I mean, war is war. You don't win wars by defeating an army. You win wars by defeating a country.
and I understand that sentiment. And like I said, right, um, there is obviously two separate ties, right? Because not everybody in Palestine was cheering at those parades, right? Like,
No, but
like,
not everybody in Israel wants the complete destruction of Palestine.
see,
But that's the way it's being framed.
it's being framed that way, but I also believe it's being framed that way because everybody in Israel is almost part of the Israeli military, or it has been part of the Israeli military, right? Um, and I mean, I find it hard justification, right? Like to be able to call like an infant child your enemy and to be able in justification on dropping a bomb on them, right? Like, and I hear this argument all the time, right? When people talk about civilian deaths in Israel and Gaza,
Mm-hmm.
and it's Hamas using them as like shields, right? Well, I mean, like when the people in the United States, like when police invade a house and somebody's using them as a shield, they don't blow up the house. You know what I mean?
No, but again, war is different than policing.
I mean, you're not going to hear an argument from me there because I agree.
And any military force that would build bases underneath hospitals are not doing it for the right reasons.
No.
They're doing it for the sole reason of using those people as shields in hopes that the enemy would not strike it because they are hospitals. It's the same situation that we got into fighting the Taliban, fighting ISIS, fighting the Iraqi Republican Army. fight when they were firing at us from mosques,
Yes.
because mosques are sacred sites. They're off limits.
Mhm.
And we finally got sick of it and said, no, we're going to shoot at you. And then we look bad on the world stage because we blew up a mosque. Well, they're
Yeah.
killing our people from those mosques.
I mean, like in the same exact situations happening in Israel, where Israel's firing into churches, like Christian churches, right?
Right.
And all that stuff.
And again, if as a Christian, that's horrible. You know, these are hugely historic sites. But if the Israeli army are taking fire from those places, you know, you got to do what you got to do sometimes. You know, the argument of you can just send in special forces to take them out. Well, that's a great idea, but it doesn't work that way.
So I think the two viewpoints on the entire actual conflict going on is from a morality standpoint, right? And from the exact wording I'm losing is like from the idea of us as Americans, right? Because our nation's involved in this.
Yeah.
You know, because like from the morality standpoint, it's kind of what we're talking about now, right? I truly do not believe there's a winning side, right? But I feel like society has progressed so far. I feel like we can all agree that dead babies are bad. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yes. And I don't feel like there's much justification for that. And I think if this war didn't have such a high death toll in certain circumstances, is all war is bad, right? But like, for examples, like the aid in going to Gaza, right? Like the food aid.
Right.
Israel locked it out. Like they let it back in recently, like I think like last week or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But they locked it out, right? And literally starving the population. You know what I mean?
We did the same thing to Germany in World War II. You starve the population, they give up the will to fight.
Yeah, I just wouldn't compare Palestine to Nazi Germany.
Well, I am giving these points as
you're comparing like the tactics used by the military.
Yes. Yeah. It is horrible that civilians are starving. But at the same time, like we've already discussed, these civilians elected this government. This is what they wanted. They wanted a government whose charter says we will destroy all Jews.
I think that,
and
I don't know if, and this obviously isn't me siding with terrorists, right?
Right.
But I think it's also fair to consider that who else were they supposed to elect, right? Because this specific group of people has been literally pushed to the edge, right? Water, electricity shut off, so they don't have clean water, right? And all these horrible things. And I mean,
right.
What does Israel expect to happen when they force a group of people to live like that? You know what I mean? Do they expect?
Well, but when that group of people is constantly attacking you,
they're both constantly attacking each other, which is the
again,
innate problem.
It's that question. It's like who started the attack first,
right?
You know, you always hear, you know, there are rockets coming into Tel Aviv, and the Iron Dome takes it out, and the Palestinians in the West Bank will say, "Well, they came into our place and was shooting us up, so we retaliated." Well, and then Israel say, "Well, they fired a rocket in across the border at us, so we sent troops in to take care of that," and they're using that as justification of firing the rockets into Tel Aviv. You know, it's
and it's the exact same situation as like October 7th is horrible, and like I said earlier, Israel's right to defend itself, right? Like any nation has a right to defend itself. But we have Israel using October 7th, right? And like justified to defend itself, but it's almost at the point now where it's like, what is Israel almost has full control of the strip, right? Like Hamas is deep rooted in Gaza, but Israel has supreme advantages on all fours, right? Israel's definitely winning this war, quote unquote, right? Even as horrible as that is. And it's at the point now is like, why are we shooting people going to get food aid, right? Like we're gunning children down when they're running to UN aid trucks.
Yeah,
You know?
those I just recently heard about that, and
Yeah.
it's something that I just haven't had time to look into.
S- I
And
I'm
I'd like to
personally looking
know,
into it. Yeah.
yeah, I'd like to look into that some more. Not making excuses, but throwing out
Mhm.
hypotheticals. It could
Um.
be. Is there a possibility that this is again another hospital situation? That
So
it might not be people from that group shooting at Israeli forces, but maybe somebody behind, and it's
um.
hard to see where it's coming from. And
So
like I said, I'm just throwing out
yeah.
hypotheticals because I just don't know.
So I read about it, and like currently I was just reading a UN report, right? That is not the case. Um and it's talking about at some points people have to choose between getting shot or getting food, right?
Right,
And as we just talked about, Israel starved out that entire population of people,
right.
right? And is forcing them to run to aid trucks. And let me just read you a quote from the UN Rights Office. Spokesman Rabir Shandanzi told reporters in Genevieve on Friday, "We've raised concern about atrocity crimes have been committed and risk further atrocity crimes where people are lining up for essential food and requires a medicine, and they're being attacked while waiting for aid. Um, at least 15 Palestinians, including women and children, were killed in a strike in front of an aid clinic run by a U.S. based aid group, Project Hope. So a United States based group, right?
Mhm.
I think that's just important for a later conversation about the United States and Israel.
Sure.
And this was all the Project Hope, which is a partner organization of the United Nations Children Fund. The Israeli military reported saying they were targeting Hamas members, but there was none in sight. And like when you have those types of situations, right? It makes me ask the question, right? What Israel's in game through the recent actions of shooting like women and children going to get food from aid trucks to feed their family,
Right.
right? Yeah, I think it's fair to say it makes me doubt Israel's intentions of quote unquote curbing Hamas and more of wiping out a group of people and taking over the strip. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I can definitely see the logical path there. Um, but
Now, yeah.
but again, you know, being at war, Israel is under no obligation to provide aid to these people or to allow aid to get to them.
They so and like obviously, yeah, Israel's under no obligation, but when the United States is sending like their aid groups are sending aid and the United
Right.
Nations is, and
Right.
they should probably listen to us, right? Like the United States government has not specifically said that, but when you have US aid groups, right?
Yeah.
And Israel obviously doesn't care that much about US lives if they're striking United States aid centers. You know what I mean? Um, but like again, for example, I'm gonna use the United States, right? Obviously, the United States didn't starve out the nation of Afghanistan, right? But we never specifically targeted civilians to quote unquote draw out the Taliban, right?
I mean,
Civilians got killed. I'm not
yeah.
gonna disagree, right? But the United States, for example, has never drone striked people getting aid. You know what I mean?
As far as I know, no, but I can't say with 100% certainty, but as far as I know, that
Yeah.
did not occur.
Um, but I mean, like, I and like obviously we'll talk to the end of it about what a solution could possibly be for this, but like at the end of the day, I think my personal opinions, like on moral justifications on it is specifically in targeting women and children who have never picked up a gun in their lives. That just doesn't seem morally justified to me. And I understand what the Israeli military top is sending to their troops, right? And it's to fill them with hate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I get it, right? Like there's national pride there, but this runs so deep that it's hard for me not to use the word genocide. You know what I mean?
Right. So again, it goes back for me. Yes, I don't want to see I won't say innocence because I don't believe there are innocents in war. Just because you are not in the military doesn't mean you're not part of the fight. You are supporting through your contributions as a civilian citizen to that country's war machine. So I don't believe inherently in the idea that there are innocent people in warfare. Now, with that said, I don't want to see, children being murdered.
I don't think
in
anyone
war,
does.
right? I would say women, but even with nowadays, women can carry a gun just as effectively as a man.
Mm-hmm.
And so less so women than children for me. But when you're arguing that they're doing these atrocious things to the people of Gaza, like I said, the main goal of Hamas is calling for the annihilation of Israel.
Yeah.
And this is the government the people of Gaza elected to represent them.
So,
which means that the people of Gaza agree with this. So you are fighting against an entire people who want your annihilation.
Yeah. I mean,
So
like
they want genocide as well.
So I wouldn't
It's in their charter.
I wouldn't go as far as that because I would make the same like contrast to like not everybody in Afghanistan was part of the Taliban. You know what I mean? You know?
Yeah.
And if I may,
but again, there's a big distinction between
I just want to
entity and a non-government entity.
Yeah, I want to draw like a clear line because like government entity, I mean like sure they lead that and like just how the Taliban runs Afghanistan now.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I think drawing a clear line because these are two terrorist organizations people can understand.
Right. But you don't see people of Gaza disagreeing with Hamas.
I think like this is so I want to show a picture.
Whereas in Afghanistan, we did have Afghan nationals saying, yeah, we want to get rid of the Taliban. They're horrible people.
So I'm going to share.
At least I have not seen any of that coming from Gaza.
So real quick, I'm going to share my screen. This is an image of a refugee camp in Gaza, right?
Okay.
And the reason I pull this up, right, is I want to kind of see. So all of these tents and camps or stuff is people either one displaced, right? Because war displaces people.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Or people who have fled from the violence, right? In the center of Gaza.
Mm-hmm.
This is where civilians have fled while the fighting between Hamas and the IDF are taking out, right? And there has been multiple instances of airstrikes on these places. And I mean, I understand the whole sentiment of there's no innocence in war, but part of me just disagrees in like the specific conflict. And I know, like we both know, this is just such a deep-rooted, complicated social religious issue, right? So many isms can be said.
Right. And
that it's hard to draw lines, right?
Yeah.
And like where we each draw our lines is going to be different, right? Like, and because we do it differently, right? You grew up in a different time than I'm growing up now, right? We seen different things.
Right.
But like when I see, and this is kind of just where it all fumbles down for me, right? Is when I see specific targeting of innocent civilians, like specifically women and children, right? I cannot morally side with the nation doing that. And that's what I've seen. And just so everyone's also clear, if I haven't made this clear, and I think Josh also agrees, right? Well, maybe you don't, right? Is there is a difference between somebody living in Palestine, because that's just how the dominoes fell for them, and a radical terrorist organization, right? I am anti-terrorist, pro not bombing civilians, right? Because as I said like multiple times, every nation on the planet, even including nations who I don't like, you know what I mean? Iran has their right to defend themselves when attacked. And Israel totally had that right when Hamas killed 1,200 people. I remember watching the news when that happened, and it was crazy.
It was a gigantic escalation.
It was massive because there's always been conflict, like me and Josh said at the very beginning of the episode. Always been conflict.
And it's typically, I'm going to throw some rockets at you. We're going to throw some back. We're going to exchange some gunfire. You know,
we're going to shut
attacks
off
where 10, 20 people will die, and nobody bats an eye because it's just been going on for hundreds of years, right?
And I think October 7th made the world realize maybe we should start looking.
Right.
Because, like, I truly do not think people understand how long that's been a hotspot waiting to go off.
Yeah.
Right. And if it wasn't Hamas, it would have been the IDF. Right. One of them was bound to do this. Not justifying anything because it's horrible. But it was bound to happen because the way that the world leaders, the world stage set this up, and the way everything's been happening in that region, it was just bound to happen.
Yeah, and there's some argument that can be made that, you know, after World War II, when you have millions of displaced Jews that need somewhere to go, and, you know, the powers to be across the world come together and said, okay, we'll just give them back their ancestral homeland, right?
Yep.
Whether it was morally right or wrong, it happened.
Yeah, it happened.
And because of what happened to the Jewish people during the Holocaust, there's an argument that could be made that since 1948, the rest of the world has treated them with kid gloves. Right? We don't want to be too hard on them because of what they have had to endure.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean,
and that could have been, you know, unwittingly just more, you know, because nobody has said, hey, you need to calm your shit.
Yeah.
That they feel they get emboldened to say, you know, whether you think they are right or wrong, without anybody there to keep them in check.
The world leaders put Israel on the box it has today. His legs to stand on. And like I said, And I see this argument thrown out a lot. It's not anti-Semitic to condemn Israel, right? It's not in general.
No, it's not anti-Semitic to say what Israel is doing in the West Bank to civilians is anti-Semitic. No,
it's not.
But
right, yeah,
but it is anti-Semitic to say we want the extermination of the Israeli state.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, but there's a big distinction between
that,
the two.
Yeah, and anybody who says that obviously has zero morality.
Right. And that's one of the things, kind of bringing the discussion to our streets, the massive protests that are happening in the United States. One of the biggest chants that you will hear in those protests, you know what it is?
Death to the IDF.
No,
I hear that one a
the
lot.
original one.
Oh no, I don't know what it is.
From the river to the sea,
Till
Palestine will be free.
Yeah.
And if you go through everybody at that protest and ask them what that means, I guarantee you 90% of them, at the minimum, couldn't tell you.
Yeah,
like what river?
Yeah.
Are they talking about?
Yeah.
Well, that river is the Jordan River. It is the river that separates Israel from the West Bank. What sea are they talking about? The Mediterranean Sea. So what's between those two things is Israel. So saying from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free is literally calling for the destruction of the Israeli state.
Yeah, it's calling for Palestine to take back its land.
What some believe is theirs.
Yeah.
By right.
Yeah.
And again, that's another argument. It's like I said earlier, it's another argument that we have here in the United States going on. That the land should be given back to the Native Americans. Well, who had it before them? And who had it before them? Who had it before them? You can't just keep doing that, right?
So I think, like, when it comes to our streets, right, and specifically like the protests going on, right, I don't think anybody wants to call for an Israeli genocide, right? Like, I truly want to believe no one would do that, but I'm not that naive. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I do.
I think most people are, like I said, are just uneducated in the matter.
Yeah, and like uneducated in a saying, but I think what they're actually just trying to say is they want Gaza, the West Bank, right, to be free without bars on them, right? Because as we talked earlier about like the two-state compromise, right? It wasn't really a two-state compromise. You know what I mean? It wasn't hands off. They still were there, and there's still been conflicts there because Israel has shut off their water, and they shut off their electricity, which they can't use to get clean water, which they can't use to drink, right? And stuff like that. And obviously I can't call that a two-state compromise because Israel knows what it's doing, right? And that there's been bound to have conflict there, like we've said multiple times, right?
Yeah.
And I think that specifically we, as like specifically Americans, right, I think have a very specific thing. And I know that's like crazy, right? And I'm not going to go out there and say Americans have a very unique viewpoint on this, because we don't. It's big in the United States because the United States funds Israel, right? We literally bankroll them on almost anything. And it's been an ongoing joke for decades that the United States will just back up Israel no matter what.
Right.
And I think that's called for a lot of Americans to like ask the simple question of, why am I paying for this?
Yeah, it is. So we are allies with Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Have been since, at least 1967.
Yeah, for a long time.
Right. Loosely so back to 48.
Mm-hmm.
But in the current world, we are staunch allies with Israel. The issue with it is allies is supposed to be quid pro quo.
Mm-hmm.
And my only question is, like, what do we get out of this?
I think that's a valid question, Josh.
We are giving so much to the state of Israel, but we don't have, we have intelligence assets there because we have intelligence assets everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't have military base.
No.
There.
And no.
They will allow our military in to train and everything, but we do not have permanent
base.
military
We don't have a base there.
right?
Yeah. We don't have no installations in Israel.
Right. We are giving them all, at the very least, funding for military assets.
Mm-hmm.
If not giving them military assets on top of it. But we do not have a military presence there ourselves.
No. And it raises the question, what do we get from this? Right. And truly, the main thing we get from them is and I made this argument multiple times because if literally any of you guys viewers go back and watch our old episodes, I'm very pro US hegemony, right? And I understand the argument that Israel has a foothold in the Middle East, right?
Yeah.
We use that, but not really, not anymore, right? Israel has become such a war-torn nation in the last decade.
Right. We don't launch attacks into the Middle East from Israel.
No.
We might send small elements, but most of the time, like during the first Gulf War, we staged in Saudi Arabia before going into Kuwait.
Mm-hmm.
During the second Iraqi war, we were in Jordan. We've got a large presence in Jordan, but not in Israel. But also in Turkey. But now that alliance, we can talk about that another time.
That alliance is a whole nother deal.
It's like they are a NATO country, but they don't act like it.
Yeah, but overall, I think what you're getting at is arguably we don't need a foothold in the Middle East when we can send a B-2 bomber from continental United States to bomb Iran.
Yeah.
Right? We don't. We have the most powerful military in the world.
Right.
We don't need a place to land in Israel.
Right.
And so I understand the argument of intelligence sharing because Mossad is an amazing intelligence source, right?
Oh yeah, one of the best in the world.
They're one of the best in the world.
They're up there with our CIA, the MI6. They are really good at what they do.
Yeah, and I understand that, but is that intelligence that good? I understand intelligence is amazing, right?
Right.
But it's hard for me to believe that the most powerful nation on the planet, one, doesn't have that information half the time, and that our spontaneous amounts of other powerful allies also don't have better information. You know what I mean?
So the way I look at it is I think we know more about Israel than Israel thinks we know about them.
I would believe that. Yeah.
But at the same time, I think they do a good job of keeping a lid on what they want a lid kept on from us.
Yeah.
It's not to say that we don't know what they're trying to keep a lid on, but I think they're better at it than most other of our allies.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we know more than they think we know.
Yeah. And honestly, even looking at the US-Israeli alliance, right? Just a couple days ago, we sent 2 US ambassadors to Gaza, right? Do you know why we were able to do that? because we're paying for what they're doing in Gaza.
Right.
You know, Israel cannot say no to us, but for some reason, the United States lets Israel say no to us, like most of the time, and we do it, and we just follow along with Israel, right? And don't get me wrong, I don't hate almost anybody, right? I don't.
Yeah,
But
hate's a very strong word.
yeah, it's just hard for me to justify tax dollars to modern day Israel, right? And like I said in last stream, like multiple times when we were talking about Ukraine, I think and I'll put a clip of this on the Instagram for the viewers, right?
Right.
I was like, I would much rather have my tax dollars going here than to Israel, right? But we get a lot of intelligence from Israel, and I just don't think that's worth the price we pay, right? I mean, that Iron Dome's not cheap.
No. But I mean, the only argument I can make against us not having any permanent force in Israel is that in doing so would inflame the area so much worse than it already is.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. If we had a U.S. military base there and Iran accidentally hit it,
Right.
it would go off.
It just could cause that reaction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I can see the argument for that. It's like, yeah, we don't have troops stationed, large military presence in Israel. Because if we did, Iran, Iraq, ISIS, what's left, the Taliban, all these other forces would take offense to it.
Yeah, they 100% would.
More so than it's in Jordan, I think specifically just because it is Israel. And again, Israel is just mortal enemy. It is, regardless of what, in my opinion, regardless of anybody wants to say about what's going on over, this is a holy war that is being fought.
Yeah, it's deeply not religious.
Yeah, it's not a war against Palestine and Israel or Iran and Israel. It is a war against Islam and Judaism. And the only way this war ends is if one side ceases to exist.
So,
just because it's been going on for millennia.
So part of me believes, and I think a stronger part of me believes, that there is a solution, right? Now, how exactly that solution is drawn, right, I can't exactly explain. But like, you can go into deep ties about what the United States has done for Israel, and we can go into like the JPAC, funding congressmen like Ted Cruz and things like that, right? But like specifically, I think that Israel has been railroading the United States in lots of different things, right? Like just before Israel striked Iran, right? We planned on having a conference with Iranian military leaders, right? It was former war peace talks, right? And it was working, right? As many people don't want to believe. And then Israel just striked Iran, right? Before we had peace talks, and it railroaded all of it.
Yeah.
Because part of me believes the United States and Iran we will never be on good terms, but being on normal terms would be bad for the allyship, right?
Yeah.
Because Israel can't funnel money from the United States to strike Iran, right? Or get permission. And there was leaked recordings that, the White House denied. So I don't know if these are true or not, right? Not trying to spread false info, I don't think they've been confirmed or denied to my best of knowledge. that Netanyahu had a meeting with Trump about just assassinating the prime leader of Iran. Like, you know what I mean? Like, or like asked him if they could do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's one of those like, I don't want to hear about this.
Yeah, you didn't
Yeah.
call me.
Yeah.
You know. But
yeah, it's one of those things like, yeah, we can't tell you can or can't, because you are a sovereign country, right?
lose my number.
But yeah, I don't want to know about it
Yeah.
before you do it because that implicates me.
Yeah. And like, I truly believe it's such a one-sided alliance. I just don't get it. You know what I mean? And US support is like plummeting for Israel. Right. And I mean, like, I don't blame people, right? I would never go out and say I've ever supported Israel, but I've recognized that we're allies. But I certainly don't support them now. You know what I mean? Not saying I support Hamas either, ladies and gentlemen. Right. I support ending conflict.
Sure. And with most topics, there is nuance to everything.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing really is black or white.
Mm-hmm.
But I truly think, that it is something. I mean, the two having a solution. I don't know if one could exist.
So I want to piggyback the solution into something I labeled Trump taco in my notes.
Okay.
Into, I don't know, this like got really blown over by the news, which kind of made me go nuts, right? Because I thought it was kind of a big deal. Do you guys remember when like Trump like was like the United States should take control of Gaza and like drive out all the Palestinians and just rebuild it? You guys remember that?
Just make it a new Atlantic City.
Yeah, and he posted like
Yeah.
pictures of like a golden Gaza with like his face on it and crap. Dude, can I pull that picture up? Hang on.
He is, love him or hate him, he is the greatest troll.
Dude, I wouldn't even call that like, oh my God, I can't find it on the internet. Did they wipe it off the internet?
He truly is a content president, though. He knows how to lean into
here it is.
The internet.
Hang on. I'll pull it up. Let me just open it in a new tab. So if I knew how to like use my computer, that'd be fantastic. Okay, cool. I want everybody to know this shit's real. That is Trump and Netanyahu sunbathing.
These are AI images.
These are definitely, in case, yeah, we got to make sure that's clear.
Yeah.
But anyway, like not to like make humor of the matter, right? The reason I bring this up, there's some stuff I want to talk about, right? Is like the United States president doing that in the middle of the Israeli conflict is absolutely nuts.
Right. Well, I mean, to be fair, I don't think Trump likes Netanyahu.
I don't know, Josh. He did post them sunbathing together.
I think he's ribbing them.
I
think this is we can make it better than you can make it better.
So I think that's the reason why I named mine Trump Taco, right? Because like then like directly after all this, right? Because he's like been publicly supporting Israel for a while, you know what I mean? And then like just recently, Netanyahu had a press conference where he was like, the starvation's not that bad. And then Trump was like, no, it's bad.
Yeah.
And I feel like the failure of the United States president to officially like stand on something, right? Because we've had this conversation before. We have a responsibility. Like, we made ourselves the world police. We can't drop that now. You know what I mean? If-
Um, yeah, I mean, I think him, sending in Trump, sending in aid
Mhm.
shows, a little bit of humanity from him. Now, on the other side of that coin, though, he needs, if he truly believes that aid needs to get to those people, he really needs to lean on Netanyahu
The United States
and just
president
tell
can do
him,
it.
hey, yeah, tell him, the next time these people are shot at, you're not going to like it.
I will withdraw every bit of support I've ever
Right.
given to your country. I will send in my troops to take back any armament I gave you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I can't say that about, with Trump. I think he is pretty clearly, I wouldn't say like anti-war, but I don't think he's a warmonger.
Um,
Right? I don't think he wants wars to happen or to keep wars going. He understands the necessity of military use, but like he's been very consistent with, like, especially with the Russian Ukraine wars. Like,
mhm,
I don't, like, he keeps getting pressed. Don't you want the Ukrainians to win? I just want people to stop dying.
yeah,
That's been constantly his position.
yeah,
And that
and
doesn't
I see
mean
that.
he's on Russia's side, right?
Like, so, and this is just my opinion, right? I'm a 19-year-old on a podcast. I'm allowed to take that opinion. You know what I mean?
Sure.
He's the United States president.
Right.
His word draws power.
Sure.
And if he doesn't back someone or he doesn't draw a line in the sand more clear than that,
Right. Yeah. I mean, he's
yeah,
very good at using that voice
yeah,
and
but
putting it to power.
yeah,
Um, there's just some things that, yeah, I mean, maybe he should do it in other places as well.
yeah, I don't think people
Which
like truly
would,
get it.
yeah,
Like,
which also goes back to that question. It's like, okay, if he's not leaning on Netanyahu,
who's he leaning
then,
on?
well,
What's
nobody's
he do?
leaning. Well,
Yeah,
that goes back to the question of what are we getting in return for all the help we're giving
yeah.
Israel?
Like, if we're not leaning on Netanyahu, what are we gaining from him? Bombing Gaza. You know what
Right.
I mean?
Well, no, I mean, because like we were talking about earlier,
Mhm.
alliances are quid pro quo.
Yeah,
We see everything that we give them, but we don't really see anything that we get back.
yeah, and
And maybe he's not leaning on him because of what we're not seeing, whatever that may or may not be, right?
yeah,
You
and
know, that there might be something there that if he goes too hard on Israel, that whatever that may or may be goes away.
yeah, and I mean,
And it could be just intelligence
yeah,
because,
because
in that area, their intelligence is second to none.
yeah, I mean, I understand the government won't tell us everything. The government's always gonna have secrets from us. You know what I mean? I get that jazz, right? But
Mhm.
like extensive research, I've done like through high school, competing on this, arguing on sides I don't even agree with. You know what I mean? Um, the stuff that I've seen, right? And I won't doubt Mossad and Israel probably do as we share intelligence with them, right? I truly do not I don't believe that Israel can possibly have something so good that the United States would back down from him.
Yeah, it's hard to think of something.
Yeah. And like with that being said, it like the question that we're talking about now is the US Israeli alliance, right? How steady is that alliance? And how healthy is it for the United States? Because we know it's healthy for Israel because Israel is getting
Right.
all it wants, right? Like, we're sending billions and billions and billions to Israel, right? We're providing them, like, we have literal aircraft carriers outside,
Yeah.
right? Just chilling there as a show of force. But after, like, either what happens, right? You can't tell. I just don't see how, after everything's said and done, the dust settles, whatever happens, right? We get something so good out of this alliance, it would be worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what, if anything, we're getting out of this deal.
No. No. I
And
mean,
I would say that is one thing that I have seen positively from our country over the last decade.
mhm.
Um, and I don't know if it, I don't, it, I don't know when it started, but around the first Trump administration, during
Mhm.
his run and everything, the whole drain the swamp thing that never really happened. But
No.
I think the sentiment, though, sparked something in the American people
Mhm.
as a whole, that it doesn't matter what side of the political aisle you are here. I think more people are asking questions about the government now.
Yeah, I think over the past while, more people are asking questions, right? I think what you said is really important too, is to understand that, like, me as a liberal and you as a conservative, falling on both sides of the aisle, our elected officials are no better than one another,
Right.
right? And like even the Trump administration now, right? He's not draining the swamp, right? He's in it. You know what I mean? And so his cabinet, the loyalists in the Senate, the congressmen, and even on the
Yeah.
other side of the aisle, right? It's all there.
Right.
And sometimes that's kind of hard to understand. And I think the entire Israel Gaza conflict has made people just a little bit more interested in how is this benefiting the people that elected you? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, I was going to say something I completely forgot. I'm old. Keep
You
going. I might. It's
but
gone.
like, and like we talked about like the whole morality of the conflict, right?
Mhm.
And now we're talking about like the US side of it. You know what I mean?
Right.
Um like the United States has been voting alongside like our literal adversaries over this conflict. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not looking good on us on the world stage at all, right? Because like I said earlier on my stance, right, a lot of the world stage sees it that way too, you know? And when you have the United States being like the only nation not to condone Israeli targeting civilians, it looks real bad on us.
Condemn, not
Yeah,
condone.
correctly. Thank you. Condemn. Thank you. Like Russia voted, you know what I mean? And they're bombing Kiev, Uh it just makes us look like I want to say weak, you know what I mean? And that might be the right word. And I truly don't see any justification for it either. And I would even I won't go as far as saying Israel is a useless ally because obviously they're useful. Like our counterterrorism task force have done great work, right? Israel has been great in helping the United States maintain surveillance on Iranian nuclear sites. You know what I mean? Since
Yeah.
like the JCPOA. Um, but like at the moment right now, I think a majority of Americans are just asking, what are we doing, guys?
Yeah. So I remember what I was going to say.
Okay.
Going back to what you were just saying, like Americans asking, "What are we doing?"
Mhm.
We're talking about draining the swamp.
Yeah.
And both sides, the general population, both sides, not the political population, but the general population on both sides, are starting to ask more and more questions about our government, which I think is great.
Yeah.
I may not agree with those questions
But
and
ask them,
the
right?
intention, or the intentions behind them. But yeah, ask your government questions. That is the whole idea behind the First Amendment.
Mhm.
But the whole idea of draining the swamp, and you say that Trump has become the swamp,
Mhm.
or he's in the swamp. I don't think
Yeah.
he's become the swamp.
No, but he's in it. Yeah.
Right. And I think using the word swamp is very correct.
Mhm.
A swamp is just a wet, murky, muddy piece of land, right?
Mhm.
And you can cordon off an area of swamp and drain it.
Mhm.
But if you don't keep draining it, the water comes back,
Mhm.
right? So when you say he's in it, yeah, he's in it because it's not an easy job, you know. Um, and I think part of like just asking the questions from both sides and bringing light to things you are concerned about as a U.S. citizen attributes to draining that water
Yeah.
and exposing what's underneath it and what our government is actually doing.
Yeah. And I mean, like, and like the entire idea of like I voted for Kamala Harris. You know, um,
No, no,
and
I
she
can't.
yeah, uh, but like obviously I didn't vote for Trump, but like I would like him to succeed because if he succeeds
Yeah,
in actually doing
definitely.
his job, when I say that specifically, I mean policies that actually help people. But this
Mhm.
isn't an episode about Trump, so I won't get into that. You know what I mean?
No, but
No.
that's
Yeah.
that is the attitude I think all Americans should have.
Yeah.
I didn't like Joe Biden's policies at all,
Yeah.
but at the same time, I didn't want him to fail
No.
because if he fails as a president, we fail as a country.
Yeah. I mean, like, sure, I think a lot of Trump's policies are like either reckless, harmful, or just I don't know what they're doing there.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
he seems to take on problems with a sledgehammer.
Yeah. And I think a lot of it is because like one, like personally, I don't like him, right? But like I also want him to see a majority of Americans, right, are looking at what's going on in the Middle East right now and wanting to understand why he's supporting Israel by continuing to send them stuff, right?
Right.
And what I think a lot of people also need to understand is like the president of the United States should know everything, right? And no one's keeping him from that because nobody's going to say no to the US president when it comes to
Mm,
understanding what's specifically there,
right.
right? Obviously, people say no because we're not a dictatorship and we have
Right.
checks and balances, right? But he's still signing and pushing the United States to send money to Israel, right?
Yeah.
He's never once went out and said we're going to stop, right? While our allies have, um, like France, for example, they made a massive play and they plan on recognizing Palestine as an independent state, which is it's massive, right?
Right.
And I think other nations are wanted to follow suit. Um, I'm fact checking that last part as I type this,
Yeah,
but
I know for sure France um, has called for it.
Canada and France
I
are
mean, that makes sense. I mean,
backing them.
Canada
Now, I
is
don't
just
know if Canada said they necessarily do this. In a sweeping diplomatic shift, several key allies of the United States are now preparing to formally recognize Palestine as a sovereign state. Okay, well, 14 already recognized in the NATO and the G20, right?
mhm.
But it's Britain, France, and Canada, right? Those are like textbook U.S. allies, right?
Yeah.
Like, if I told a freshman to write U.S. allies on a piece of paper, he would write those people down. You know what I mean? Or he wouldn't write anybody down because he's dumb. But like,
I could give an explanation for Great Britain
yeah,
why they would be in favor of a Palestinian state.
I
Um,
mean, like,
and
obviously,
that opinion would ruffle a lot of feathers.
mm, but
If you saw the report over the weekend of what the most popular name for newborn boys in England was this past year,
I have not.
it's
Um,
Muhammad. Um,
but
and
like, either way, it goes to public support, right?
yeah,
Even if you go
yeah,
down that road, right? People are supporting the parliament
yeah,
to push that way. French people are supporting that way for France to recognize them, and obviously a lot of U.S. citizens, either one, are going to push that, but the United States won't go down that road. You know what I
mhm,
mean? But kind of what I'm trying to understand is that the diplomatic shift that's happening is we're being left behind, right? And the United States either one needs to, in what my opinion is the best way to do it, is not necessarily to drop Israel, right? But definitely stop sending them aid, right? And move our aircraft carriers out of the region and continue shift with the UN, which is pushing for peace operations, right? And like, we talked about how the conflict had ever come to an end, right? And like, a lot of people make the argument two-state compromise will never work, right? While a one-state compromise would result in one of those states being gone in one way or another, relocation or genocide, right?
right,
Which, in my opinion, a one state would require the literal world leaders to determine who gets what, right? And that's something I can never agree with, right? But the the only way for, in my opinion, this entire region to stop is for a actual two-state compromise, right?
yes,
Because like I've said multiple times, the one Israel proposed was not a two-state call. Was not. It just wasn't a two-state compromise. Israel continued to push and push, and Palestine pushed back, and so on and so forth, right? But if we had a world where truly we came to an agreement of the division of land, right? Because one of the main issues is the overpopulation in Gaza. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Because with millions of people living in less and less and less than some of the smaller US states, right? With access to almost zero electricity, right? Access to clean water and most of the other stuff. And it's time for either the United States to finally take up its role as world police force and help the UN draw these lines, right? Or the UN needs to intervene without the United States, right? And obviously, I want the United States to do the right thing and help in the conflict.
sure,
But, if it comes to a point where the United States won't do it, I'll support the
yeah,
United Nations. You know what I mean?
yeah. And Trump has the opportunity to really show off that moniker of the peacemaker in chief.
Yeah.
Um, But yeah, I think a true two-state solution could be possible. It would require a lot of trust from both sides.
Yeah, it would.
For
I think it would also require peacekeepers on the ground.
for a time, probably yes.
Yeah,
And that is a whole nother
deal.
bag of worms. But I don't know. I don't know if it can work, but I wish it could.
I also think that's just the most realistic step, right?
Yeah.
But I also think that I want a United States president who will not just back down and just let things happen. You know what I mean? Right?
Yeah, because he's not one to have backed down in anything else.
Yeah, and that's why this is so like mind-boggling to the right side of the aisle, right? That are seeing this happen. Now, in my opinion, the United States has an amazing opportunity to start ending the conflict whenever it wants. You know what I mean? Because if the United States was like, "Hey, this is getting out of hand. I need you to stop," right?
Yeah.
Dial it back, or else.
Mm-hmm.
And Israel didn't, and we just said, "Okay, well, I'm done being your sugar daddy. I'm cutting you off."
It's the only fear I have with that is the United States just getting involved in another part of the world. Right. Yeah. And we are already involved,
That was what I was gonna say.
but this would be on a completely different level. Because at that point, if Trump did step in and found a way to make peace between the Jews and the Palestinians, and got them to agree to an Israel and a Palestine, two separate states, right? We would, if he is the one that brokered that deal,
we would have to see it through.
We would have to be involved in ensuring that peace is maintained.
Yeah.
In one way or the other. I don't know what that looks like. If it's I don't want to be a military occupying force.
Nobody wants the United States to send Chinooks in with US Marines on it or anything like that.
If there's a way that you can use economic sanctions and stuff on both sides to ensure it, that would probably be the most beneficial to everybody.
I mean, the United States was doing that and it was working. We were levying sanctions on Iran and it was preventing them from getting a nuke.
Yeah. I mean, he's proving that, with the tariffs he's using around the world, it is working to a degree. It hurts. But other countries are coming to the table and saying, okay, we need you more than you need us. So we'll play a little bit more fair.
Except China, but
right.
Yeah.
But I think we can survive without China, but that's a completely different episode.
Which would be fun.
But I think he has the ability to do something great.
Yeah. And it doesn't even, and this is just like me, I'd be saying the same thing if Kamala Harris was the president of the United States, right?
Yeah.
I would want her to step up.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like anybody else would. And like I said, I don't like Trump at all. I have a cup I'm drinking out of that says MAGA tears because I think it's funny, right? You know what I mean? Sure. It's simply like, it doesn't even, I'm not even need to specify Trump, like the United States, like government, right? Like obviously Trump has to do it because he's the president, right?
Right.
The United States has the opportunity to start doing this, right? And like I said earlier, I draw the line between Hamas and the innocent family, you know what I mean, fleeing to a refugee camp, right? You know, just like I see Israeli citizens calling out their own government right now. Like, this is
Right.
very new. This is the last day or two.
Yeah.
Right. It finally broke. Obviously, not every Israeli is part of the IDF who is so hate driven.
Sure.
You know, it's just hate filled people with millennium long conflicts. Right.
Yeah, there is so much generational hate.
Yeah.
Sorry for that, but
Yeah.
it truly is
Yeah.
that way in that region.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things, before I forget again, one of the reasons I love having these discussions with you is we can disagree on a lot of stuff.
Uh-huh.
And I think the two of us are more kind of classical political ideologists, 1950s, 60s, where
Mhm.
the two parties, they wanted the same thing,
Yeah.
but it was the road to that thing
That were
is what was
different.
different.
Yeah.
And it's kind of what we're coming to with this is we both kind of want the same outcome.
Yeah.
It's just how do we get that outcome could be different,
Yeah.
you know. But we both want people to stop dying. We
Yeah.
both, we would like them to be able to live in peace.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, it's just a question of how do we get that to happen?
Yeah. And like, obviously we both see the United States has a key role in this relationship and how they would try to do it.
Yeah, this is all
Right.
Japan's fault, by the way.
That's crazy.
I mean, if we didn't get stuck into World War II, we wouldn't be in this position as the world police.
I love that. That's how I
It's
used to
it's Japan's fault.
when I competed in speech and debate, I used to draw lines back to like 1870, and I'm like, listen, judge, this
Yep,
nation that was this nation is now this nation, and they're at fault.
they touched our boats,
Yeah.
and now we touch everything.
Yeah.
So
And yeah, it all comes down to they touched our boats and we didn't do anything, right? Not saying we should have, you know what I mean?
right,
Because I wasn't alive, you know what I mean?
right. I mean, they
Um,
said it was an accident. They thought it was an Egyptian ship.
I truly do not believe that whatsoever.
Yeah,
But
I mean, the
you're telling
flags
me
are
there's
the
telling me it's not
flags are not nearly the same.
I was gonna say, you're telling me there's not a US flag on that carrier? Well, not carrier, a ship, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
But
and the ships are probably much different looking as well. And
probably.
so, I mean, I could say, in the fog of war, you're just holy shit, there's a ship there. Blow it out of the water and
Yeah.
then go, oops. Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see that happening. I'm not saying that's what happened.
Mm.
It's plausible,
Yeah,
but
but what kills me is that everybody has forgotten about it,
yeah,
right? Like, it's never talked about. Like, the USS Liberty has not like been brought up anywhere,
no,
anywhere.
no.
And when I bring it up to people in conversation, they think I'm a conspiracy theorist and I made up a boat. I didn't, you know. It's a real boat, real people. You know what I mean?
We need to have a Who Touched Our Boats episode.
That is true. That's true. We do. But like, back to what we were saying before we just got spiraled off track.
Tangents are fun.
Yeah. Like, because we've been the question we've been asking like so long is like, what are we in it for, right? And either what that is, I don't get, and I don't think Josh gets either, right? Because we've talked about it. But at the end of the day, the United States plays a key role in maintaining world order, like it or not. You know what I mean? Like the entire after the Soviet Union fell, when we took over as the great power of the world. Right.
Yeah, the world is a better place with the United States as the world superpower.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And you could go back in the other episodes. I've explained that point before too.
Yes.
But
yeah. But that stance comes at a cost to our own people.
Yeah. And like, obviously that doesn't mean that the world is fully peaceful, because obviously it's not, because the title of this episode is Israel Gaza conflict. You know, but
it's just saying it would be much worse off.
Yeah.
If we hadn't won World War II.
Yeah. And pretty much we put ourselves in that role, and it's about time we start acting like it again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that doesn't, yeah.
And I think a lot of that, you can hesitate with it. 9/11 happened. That was a direct attack on us.
Yeah. That we haven't seen since Pearl Harbor.
Right. And this kind of conflict, the Russia-Ukraine conflict, what's going on in Cambodia and Malaysia.
Mm-hmm.
Those are things that we should be concerned with.
Mm-hmm.
But I can see why we are leery to jump into those when we look at our involvement in Korea and Vietnam.
Yeah. And
those were really conflicts that really didn't concern us. And, Korea, we kind of did some good there.
Mm-hmm.
Vietnam, we really didn't make much of a difference.
No,
they're now a communist country.
We lost Vietnam.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, not technically, but we didn't win that.
We didn't win it either. Yeah.
And that's a whole nother issue that we can discuss as well.
And I'm glad you brought up that sentiment of Vietnam and Korea, because I understand to our viewers when I go out there and I say something like the United States and people drawing up lines, right? Mm-hmm. That brings back a lot of bad memories. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we did it in Korea. We did it in Nam.
Right.
Now, I'm not, and that's not specifically what I'm exactly calling for either, right?
Sure.
Because that was literally like, you live there, right? This is finding a solution that will take months, years to cultivate into an actual steady way of life, right? But it's about time the United States, and as a matter, I'm going to pull in the other nations too, in NATO and everyone else, and Russia, to start fixing the continent we touched. And if that means being more hands off, that's what that means. You know what I mean? Because, I mean, the Soviets had Afghanistan. They call it the graveyard of empires for a reason, right?
Yeah. And that's a funny story too, that, we armed the Taliban to fight against the Russian insurgency.
Yeah. And then
they turned around and used those same weapons to fight against us.
Yeah. Yeah. The United States and every other world power has completely wrecked that region. And I'm going to also bring in NATO, because we invoked Article 5 after 9/11.
Yes.
And we had our NATO allies also declare war on terrorism, right?
Minus Turkey,
because Turkey is always just that person.
Yeah.
But with that being said, it's on both sides of the aisle, right? I'm gonna be honest, Josh, this is one of those conversations that I can have with somebody and their opinions on it immediately tell me if I'm gonna talk to them again about anything, right? Like, we wrecked that region, right? And we're sitting here and we're kind of wrecking it again.
Yeah. We talk about Iran a lot
We do.
and how messed up that country is.
Mhm.
And it's that way now because of us.
Yeah, we
You
we
go
did that.
you go look at pre Ayatollah Iran
Mhm.
before 1972,
It was
and it
beautiful.
was it looked like California,
It
like
was beautiful.
downtown LA, the women in jeans and t-shirts.
Mhm.
It was a very westernized nation.
You wouldn't
And
recognize it today.
yeah, and we went in there and fondled everything and
That's a word for it. But before our audience, Josh, if I have photos of Iran,
yeah,
right, beforehand, let me pull one up. Um, these are old images, so everyone is clear, so it's not in color, and I didn't want to pull up one of
sure.
those, like, horrible colored ones where you're like, "That lady might be wearing yellow." You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean,
Um,
there's a real famous one of an Iranian girl in like a white t-shirt and jeans.
yes, there is. That is not the one I pulled up, but this is a good one,
Yeah,
right? Like, this was Iran before
yeah,
the Islamic Revolution. Like, looking at that photo today, you would not tell me that's Iran.
right. And it's a good, to me, that is a very good picture of a blending of culture.
They are
I
literally
mean,
protesting.
right. And
Yeah.
but every single one of these people are probably Muslim,
Yeah.
right? But you can tell they are of different sects of the faith
Yeah.
by a couple of the women wearing the headdresses and some of them not. You
Mhm.
know, and they're out there hand in hand, just being people
Yeah.
and
It's
not trying to
beautiful.
kill each other like they're doing now.
No. And, like, this is, like, clear what's happened, right? Because now we have modern day Iran where I'm not gonna be the American here, right? Like, I've seen people visit Iran. I wouldn't suggest it, you know what I
Mhm.
mean, whatsoever, right? But moral to the story is, this is a great example. Me and Josh, no matter how our political difference align, we both come to the common understanding of maybe we should stop touching the Middle East because all we do is mess it up. Like, and I feel like if me and Josh can do that, so can everyone else.
Yeah. And if we're going to touch something, we need to be, I don't want to use forceful as the right adjective, but I don't want to be middling,
No.
right? If we're going to get involved with something with an outcome that we have planned, we need to go in there and execute that plan to get to that outcome,
hmm
not dilly dally around. And that's been I think one of our biggest problems is in these areas. Not just we shouldn't have been there in the first place, but when you get bureaucrats involved with war, things go bad.
Yeah. And it all goes back to what I said literally an hour and 48 minutes ago at this point of every nation has a right to defend itself. And I even made the comparison to the United States defending itself after 9/11,
Yep.
right? The only difference between it is that we overstayed our welcome and forced some things on the nations that didn't align, right?
Right.
And it kind of draws like to the same line with Iran today, right? We were doing peacekeeping talks, you know what I mean, with Iran, and we've been trying to do this without levying sanctions, and it's been somewhat successful. And Netanyahu has been calling Iran has a nuclear bomb since 2012, right? And it's finally time that we and other nations finally start trying our best to either one, hands off, right?
Right.
Or hands on in the right way. And what that is actually making sure everybody in the region is free and not under the tyranny we kind of help put them under.
Right.
And it's just we didn't learn the last time we did it in the Middle East, and we're kind of watching it unfold again in Gaza. That's pretty much what I think.
Yeah, and it sounds like such a simple thing,
Yeah, I put it very
but
simply.
but it is a very difficult and monumental task to achieve.
Yeah.
Just because there is so much animosity amongst the peoples there, not just between, the Muslims and the Jews, the Christians, but even inside those faiths.
Mhm.
You have the Sunni and the Shia. They're both Muslims, but they hate each other because
Mhm.
they don't believe the Quran the way they do. It's um, so to get them all on the same page would be a very difficult thing to do.
Yeah.
I think it's possible.
Yeah, I don't know if it would be done in my lifetime.
Right. I'm
Yeah.
a very big proponent of if you can think of an outcome, there is a possibility for that outcome.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I understand, and I'm not going to sit here and that's why me and Josh have been so careful, not even careful, but just honest when we say this, is I understand the idea of the United States becoming arguably over evolved again is not solving what we're talking about, right? But there's got to be a way for us either to do something or stop doing
Right.
what we're doing now.
Yeah.
Has got to lead to something.
And it becomes a very delicate operation with us.
Yes.
Like I stated earlier, us being the world's superpower and projecting that power and doing our best to keep things as peaceful as possible
Yeah.
has come to as a cost
Mhm.
to our people.
Mhm.
And to create more of that power would cause an even greater cost to
Yeah.
our people.
Yeah.
And that's a completely different discussion. I am with you that our power across the world is good for the world.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we need to figure out a way to take care of our own as well.
Yeah. And we kind of talked about this in I think it was the first episode, right? We talked about Africa in the test episode. And you guys might be wondering, what do you guys he talked about Africa and you're talking about just go watch it. Go watch it. But yeah, it's not an easy task, and that's why I even brought up maybe just totally hands off and stop involving ourselves. You know what I mean?
Right.
Would probably also lead to an outcome.
Right. Or we just figure out a way to make Star Trek a reality and unite the planet with the capital in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Under US rule.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
I'm not saying I want that to happen.
No, and I
countries
think
should be free and independent.
I think my great grandchildren will read this and be like, "Wow, Josh called it." But
right. I mean, it's something that I think is an absolute possibility.
Yeah.
And it may not be us.
No.
The British Empire might come back. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I think that is a possibility, that the only way to truly achieve world peace is to unify the world under one government.
Yeah. I see it.
But I don't know if that is achievable.
Yeah. All we can do right now is start doing the right things.
Doing the best we can with what we have.
Right. And we have not been doing that for some time.
Right.
Like the past 10 years. You know what I mean? And we've led to a lot of good, a lot of bad. But all we can do now is push our leaders, local representatives, and everybody to do the best with what we have. Because they're elected to serve you. No one else at the end of the day.
And if you don't like what they're doing, get rid of them.
Out. Vote them out.
That is the beauty of our system of government.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just people are afraid of challenging the status quo.
Mm-hmm.
They're afraid of changing the status quo.
Yeah.
And that's something that, again, going back the last 10, 15 years, that I have seen changing in this country. Regardless of political affiliation, more and more people are willing to strive for some type of change.
Yeah. Yep. And I think that's all we can do. And like, I say it on here all the time, join the conversation, right? Because not being involved is the same as being involved on the side you probably don't like.
Right.
Silent voices don't get heard.
Right. And again, I'm going to bring up Charlie Kirk. I know you don't like him, but one of the things he said, he was asked why he does what he does, going around the country and talking on college campuses, right? And his answer was, the minute we stop talking to each other, the closer to civil war we get. Right? If you can't sit down and have a civil conversation, it will divide you further.
I can agree with that.
And for me, that is the goal. My goal for this podcast.
Yeah. I think that is the goal for Generational 8.
Yes, just being able to sit down, talk with people you don't agree with.
Yeah.
You don't have to come out at the end of the discussion agreeing with each other.
No, like me and Josh probably don't agree right now.
Yeah. There was a lot in that conversation that we didn't agree on.
Yeah.
But gaining an understanding of what your political opponent, what their view on things, forces you to think outside of your own bubble.
Yeah. Don't surround yourself with yes men.
Right. Just because you think you're right doesn't mean they're wrong.
Yep. It is very rare. You guys are probably both wrong.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there could be a third opinion out there that just, but yeah, don't be afraid to talk. Be civil about it. There's no need for ad hominem attacks, name calling.
No.
If you get loud, hey, passions run wild. You can get, I don't know if you've noticed a couple of times my face got a little bit red, but passion's good. But
it's coming close to that time.
Yeah.
That was probably my favorite episode we've done so far.
It was fun.
It was fun. But people just got to learn to live with the people who don't agree with them.
Yep.
And it's truly not that hard. If you just sit down, have a conversation.
Yeah. And I would say that is probably the best thing about this country. is outside of the political sphere. Most people, even though they disagree with each other, I think can just sit down and have a conversation.
Yeah.
Crack open a beer and just talk.
Uh-huh.
And I think it is the political pundits, the media, that continue to drive the wedge between the people.
Tomorrow, see Josh, give him a fist bump. Go on.
Oh, no, that's my point.
Yeah.
You don't hate the media enough.
No. Put that on a shirt.
Yeah. Oh, it already is.
Yeah.
You don't hate the media enough. You don't hate the government enough. Neither of them are working for you. They're working for themselves. You will find that a lot about me. I may be kind of right, conservatively leaning, but I'm not a government fan. I tolerate government because there are some things we do need it for. But no, I
just no.
The government is the way government runs now. It is there to protect itself from the people, not to protect the people from the government.
Yeah. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, make sure you like, comment, check out all of our socials.
Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. I'm thinking if we can get enough traction, I would like to open up a Discord server.
I would love that. I'd love it. So check us out. Push the algorithm.
Yep. All right. Well, so hopefully sometime again this week.
Yeah.
Midweek.
Probably aim for Wednesday, but we'll see what happens. Yeah.
And we'll see what we're going to talk about for that one, and we'll get it posted for you guys.
For sure. But everyone have a great night.
Have a good night, everybody.
Mm-hmm.